Hey, what's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. We have the Set 6 patch notes. This patch is coming out tomorrow, and we're going to go over all the changes that have happened that I have not covered already. But in case you guys didn't know, essentially we have all these new traits, and we've already gotten into them before. So if you guys have not checked out my previous video, I'll leave a card up here for you guys to check that out. There are a couple changes to the item, most notably like Hex Tech Gunblade, a Banshee's Claw, and a couple of other items got like a slight change. Pretty much the identity of each item is essentially the same. They just added a few knickknacks here and there, but again, it's all covered in the old video. So we are going to go over everything that's been changing since that last video. So we have the introduction of the Gadget Pass. Essentially, this is just like the battle pass that you get during the course of the set. And you get a bunch of emotes, some booms, some shards, and little legends, and of course the arenas. But scrolling down a little bit, we also have the new Chibi Champions. These are essentially replacements of your little legends if you want to play as Echo, Vi, or Jinx. And then there's like this duck guy that's new. There's this like goo thing that's new. And there's one more, this, I'm not really too sure what this represents, but some sort of like cute little animal. So on to the next cosmetic changes, and then of course we'll get into the balance changes later. We have the arenas. There are two new ones. They're each 1380 RP, but this is what they look like down here. So onto the rank changes. So rank rewards are going to be posted in the next patch. That's 11.23. So whatever rank you got in set 5.5, you're going to get the rewards for that shortly. And then in the new rank season, you are going to have a couple changes to how like your rating works. So players will no longer be demoted in rank for tiers Iron to Master. And then players will still be demoted in divisions, for example, from Platinum 1 to Platinum 2. That means I guess you can stay like Gold 4, 0 LP for the entire set, no matter how many times you lose. Grandmaster and Challengers are the only ones that will allow for demotion. And then when gizmos and gadgets go live in your region, you'll be able to start climbing the ladder in this set's first rank stage, and everyone will start in Iron 2. You'll get 5 provisional matches, meaning you will not lose any LP for any like bot 4 placements in your first 5 rank games, and then you'll gain extra LP for winning. And also hyper rating will be reset to 500. So there's also a new 2v2 mode. If you guys haven't heard yet, you will want to find like a friend to play with or something like that. Maybe I'll have like a channel on my Discord for people looking for duos. But all that information can be found at discord.gg/BunnyMuffins. But the 2v2 mode comes out next patch, so don't really worry about that yet. Take these next 2 weeks, I guess, to find like a duo partner. So now onto the real changes. Hex Tech Augments. Essentially, the new way to play TFT, the new set mechanic, is that once during stage 1, stage 3, and stage 4, you will have a choice of 3 different augments to choose from. And these buff your teams in different ways. And it is going to highly affect how you are going to play that particular game of TFT. This is kind of like a choose your own adventure mechanic that they have in this new set. I've found it pretty fun so far, but let me know your thoughts if you have tried it already yourself. I'm going to be coming out with an augment guide, I think tomorrow, so definitely look out for that. I'm going to be categorizing all of them, and I'm going to be going over when to go for them and how to use them. So onto the system changes, loot orbs. Nico has been offering her help a bit too often in Dawn of Heroes. And since you get Hex Tech Augments now, like they're reducing the drop rate of Nico's helps from blue and gold orbs. And then now let's get into the item changes. So Archangel Staff got reworked. It's now kind of like a stacking item. So during combat, the holder gains 25 ability power for 4 seconds. Banshee's Claw got reworked. When combat begins, the holder and all allies within 1 hex in the same row gain a shield that blocks the damage and effects of the first enemy ability that hits them up to 600 damage. So when you stack this, it no longer blocks 2 spells, but it increases the shield that you get from it. So if you get hit by like a 1000 damage ability, if you only have 1 Banshee's Claw, you take 400 damage. If you have 2 Banshee's Claws, you would take 0 damage from that first spell. Next, we have Bramble Vest. This now grants 80 armor, including the components, and they reduce the AoE damage. Deathblade's being reworked. It now grants 50, 75, and 100 bonus attack damage, depending on what star level you are. And then Dragon's Claw, the fireball is now being changed from every 1 second to every half a second, but the damage is being reduced as well. This will probably make it hit different targets a little more, but it's still overall a solid item. Giant Slayer damage threshold is being changed from 1600 to 1800. Giant Slayer I found to be pretty useful in this new set because a lot of people play Colossus, and those people have a lot of health. And there's also like the Bruiser trait, so there definitely is a lot of value to be gained from Giant Slayer. Hand of Justice, bonus AP, AD, or Omnivamp is being nerfed slightly. I think because since they removed armories, item armories, it is much more difficult to get perfect items, so Hand of Justice becomes infinitely more valuable because it's kind of like a flex item that fits on everyone. So this item definitely should be better, so they are nerfing it right now to compensate for that. Hex Tech Gunblade no longer grants a shield for overhealing, instead it now heals the lowest health ally. And then Jeweled Gauntlet now grants 10 additional AP, but it does have its bonus critical strike damage lowered a tiny bit. Quicksilver now gives you 20% attack speed as well as its original effects, and then Rapid Fire Cannon now has increased attack speed. And then Runon's Hurricane, this is probably one of the bigger changes. You get 10 AD, but you no longer trigger on hit effects. So it's not good if you have like a Talon, for instance, because Talon applies like a bleed every 3 auto attacks. That will not work on Runon, so I don't recommend building it on him. Static Shiv is now getting an additional 15% attack speed, and that's pretty interesting for this item because it's kind of seen as pretty weak, so this now buffs it up, and maybe it's more usable in the later parts of the game. Now we are on to the Hyperroll changes. I don't really play Hyperroll, so if you guys want to read this, I will leave a link for this patch notes in the description below. So now Riot says this is the end of the patch notes, but newsflash, it is not. If I head on over to my Discord, we have all the balance changes that they've been doing throughout the PvE, and we have a couple changes going into the final release for tomorrow. So the changes to the augments, multi-tier built different, attack speed is being buffed at 1 and 2 star, Runic Shield is being nerfed at all levels, and then Stand United is also being nerfed at all levels. I really want to get built different to work, but it's really hard to because you can't use any synergies. And of course, again, guys, if you need more help on the augments, I'm going to be releasing a guide on it tomorrow, so just hang tight, subscribe if you want notifications for it, and if you are already, just pay attention to like your homepage because it will be out pretty soon. Phony Frontline, the target dummies are being nerfed a little bit. Phony Frontline is kind of like the really flexible one that you take in the beginning of the game if you don't want to commit to a certain augment. So it's kind of like the default choice for a lot of people, so they're nerfing it because of that. Weak Spot, Armor Pen being reduced, that's pretty fair. Grievous Wounds Duration also being reduced by 5 seconds, makes sense. This one was, I think it was pretty strong. From what I've seen and just by reading it. Underdogs, 12% HP regen is now being changed to 10%. This is really good when you're playing like Colossus. Unstable Evolution, the stats from this are going to be buffed slightly. And then for the tier 2s, Shrug It Off, healing is being buffed from 2% to 2.5. Clear Mind, 4 to 3 XP. Spellblade, AP on hit is being increased from 40% to 50%. Sunfire on the whole board. This used to burn 30% over 12 seconds, but now it burns 20% over 8 seconds. And then Woodland's Charm, the clone is now having reduced health. And then Broken Stopwatch, delay being decreased by 5 seconds, but the freeze duration being increased. So this is 2 buffs there. Onto the traits, Academy got bigger scaling as you go up. Bruiser got nerfed a little bit. Challengers got buffed in the later stages. Clockwork is being buffed as well. Enchanter, this one got a pretty big rework because they did change the Lulu, Tarek, Janna, and Orianna shielding, but essentially at lower stars it's a little weaker, and later on when you get higher Enchanter bonuses it's going to be a lot stronger. Imperial Tyrant damage is being changed and is being buffed at both levels. Innovator, Tibbers are getting her stats decrease. Hex Tech Dragon, fear duration is being increased, and then for his buff, the crit damage and crit strike chance is being increased, as well as the lightning damage. So lots of buffs for the dragon. That's the 7 Innovator trait. Now onto Mercenary, the 7 Mercenary drop tables have now been slightly less powerful. So for Mutant, Cybernetic version's being buffed, Darkstar version is being buffed as well, and then Elderwood version is being nerfed, and then the Predator and Void version, true damage is being reduced. So now onto Scrap, the shield is now being increased. I never felt the impact of this shield quite yet, so I guess that's why they're buffing it, so I kind of agree with that. Jinx attack speed being reduced, Sniper bonus is being increased at all levels. Normally you kind of just play 2 Sniper. 4 Sniper is a little ambitious, and 6 Sniper is like super ambitious, and this is because all the snipers deal damage and they don't really provide any utility. So the more you run of them, like it's only really good if you have a lot of items, but it's hard to get that many items right now. Syndicate, Omnivamp is being reduced a little bit, and then now for the champions, Kassadin nerf, Katarina buff, Kog'Maw change, it's being more reliant on the spell damage now instead of just auto attacks. Talon spell is being nerfed, Trundle is being adjusted where he gets his first cast off faster, but his subsequent ones are slower. Warwick is getting a slight buff at 1 and 3 star, and then Vi, spell damage is being, I believe, decreased at 2 star and 3 star. And then Zillion, he is going to have a buff at 3-star. Pretty interesting there. I've never had a 3-star Zillion. I've never seen a 3-star Zillion. Maybe if you go Innovators, it might work out. Clockwork, not so much because he doesn't really make that great use of that trait. Zyra is having her mana change. Her first cast is now slower, but every other cast is now faster. She's very interesting. I like her a lot. In case you guys didn't know, she CCs in a row. So if someone puts like everyone in the back row or everyone in the front row, she's very good at locking those types of teams down. Cho'Gath, attack damage buffed, mana also buffed as well. Echo, spell attack speed buff is being changed. It's now being reduced at all levels. And then Gangplank, spell base damage is being changed. He now does less damage at 2 and 3-star. His spell AD percent is also being reduced by 10%. Heimerdinger, increase at all levels. Heimerdinger kind of has a bug right now. I don't recommend playing him on this next patch because he finds a lot of trouble targeting people, and they're trying to fix that in the next patch from what I've heard. Lissandra's range is being reduced from 3 to 2 hexes, and the mana is also being nerfed. Oh, wow. This is a big nerf. Lissandra was really broken on PBE, and essentially she just hit the whole map, but now she doesn't, and she takes longer to cast, so she might be flat garbage right now after this change. That's my guess, at least. Malzahar, spell damage is being adjusted. It's being nerfed at all levels. Misfortune, spell damage is being increased. Shaco, nerfs all around in 3 different ways, actually. And then Vex, health being buffed by 50. Janna, HP buff down by 50. Mana being changed a little bit, down by 20. And then spell stun duration is being nerfed at 1 and 2-star. That makes sense. Janna's pretty much run in every single comp I've seen so far, just because Scholar, Enchanter, and Scrap are all really splashable traits, so that's why she probably deserves a nerf. Jhin, 90 AD to 95. Scion, spell damage is being reduced. Alright, so less Scion comp. Scion was pretty stupid because you put him in the front line. You put JGIE on him and 1 tank item, and then he just one-shots your whole team. And by the way, you can't kill him and you can't CC him because he's a Colossus. So very deserved nerfs there, in my opinion. Urgot being buffed a tiny bit. Galio, mana is being adjusted and being reduced. Jace, his spell AD is being buffed, and his AD gain is also being buffed as well. Kaisa, her missiles now shoot more missiles at 1 and 2-star. Spell damage is being increased as well. Yeah, Kaisa's in a weird spot because she hits everyone on the enemy team, so she doesn't actually kill anyone when she gets her cast off. She does a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't kill anything. And most champions, when they get their spell off, especially at a 5-cost champion, they're generally killing something. But hers is like too much of an AoE right now, so it's pretty hard to balance. Maybe like a Morello is really interesting on her because she would apply it to everyone. Veigar, spell damage is now being buffed at 2-star, and then Yuumi, spell damage is being nerfed at 1-star. So lots of changes there. Gonna have to see how much the meta changes. So the biggest change is like the Lissandra change, went from turbo broken to like probably hot garbage. Janna used to be played in every comp. Let's see if she still does that. But one thing to keep in mind with PBE is that you face a lot of weaker opponents than you normally do, or stronger opponents depending on what elo you're at. And that really affects the pace of the game, because right now there's a lot of like greedy comps. You see a lot of 3-stars on PBE. A lot of people are playing mercenaries. Probably not going to happen as much once ranked comes out because people will get punished more in the early to mid game. A couple of bug fixes. The Exile Augment now grants a shield to units who spawn a Woodland Charm. Next to them, the clone does not receive a shield. The Ardent Sensor Augment for Enchanters no longer triggers off of non-Enchanter healing and shielding, such as Locket. And then Lulu's Wild Growth now properly triggers the Ardent Sensor Augment's bonus attack speed. But yeah, that is going to be all the changes for tomorrow. Tier list coming out on Friday, but if you guys want certain comps to try out, I did release a video on that, I believe, 2 days ago. So definitely do check that out if you have not already. But tons of content coming out for you guys. I'm probably going to be streaming every day on twitch.tv/BunnyMuffinsLOL. So if you are interested in more TFT content, do follow me there or subscribe to the channel if you have not already. But yeah, that's going to be it from me today, and I will see you all later.